can be done by two, for I'd really like to stay. It's lovely day to day, and whatever you've got to do, I'd be so happy to be doing it with you.
Mr. Brooks has arrived, sir.
Well, it's about time. Maybe now we can get on with everything.
And eat, I'm famished.
I'll arrange for your belongings to be taken to your room, sir. And I will let Mr. Poole know you're ready to eat now.
Thank you, cousin. I'm so sorry I'm late. My car hasn't been the most reliable lately. Finally died about a mile up the driveway. It's an awful storm out tonight, and
All right. There's no need to go on about it. It's not as if we're interested or anything. Apparently, we can't eat without you.
Please excuse Mr. Cranky over there. I wish I could say he gets like this when he's hungry, but unfortunately he's like that all the time. Probably an inferiority complex.
Oh, don't start using big words, Davina. You'll only confuse the poor man.
See what I mean? I'm Davina Ascot, and that unfriendly lout over there is my brother, Robert. And you must be Arthur.
yes, that's
Oh,
right.
please say you'll sit next to me during dinner. I've been dying to meet you.
Cousin, go start talking on your relative all to yourself. I'm Celeste. Come and sit down. You must be exhausted from picking up that driveway in this awful weather. My name is Gladys Marston, and this is my sister, Beatrice. Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you, sister, but I am quite capable of my own introductions. Real pleasure to meet you, Arthur. Oh, watch yourself around these two little minxes. They had a word with girls like that back in our day, but I can't say it's in polite company.
Oddities. Oh, that's not it.
Don't believe that. She's gone around like a sailor.
Hi, I'm Arthur Brooks.
Cassandra Monroe.
Cassandra Monroe? Not the Cassandra Monroe.
The very same.
But this is amazing. I've seen all of your films dozens of times.
Now, young man, that was a long time ago. And anyways, I'm retired now.
But your films are amazing. Can't believe I'm standing in the same room as you. It's a dream come true.
A dream or a nightmare?
Give it a rest, Robert. Arthur, you can reminisce about Superstar once we find out what the will says.
How about after some food?
I'm so hungry, I feel like my throat
It's been slit.
Oh, how perfectly morbid of you, Daddy.
Well, it's the truth. How much longer do you think it's gonna take?
Calm down, Olivia. Stop making such a fuss.
Besides, Mummy's not the only celebrity in the room.
Really? Who else is here?
Have you ever heard of Gilbert Wentworth?
The famous travel writer. Of course, who hasn't? His books are filled with such adventure. To be honest, it makes me want to pack my bags every time I finish one. Wait, Gilbert Wentworth is here?
In this very room, and apparently you're all related.
Huh?
Don't try again.
Huh? But Gilbert Wentworth's a man.
No, Gilbert Wentworth is a pen name.
You really must remember, back when we started writing, it wasn't considered the proper thing for a woman to do.
Times have changed since then, thank goodness, but the name was established, so we kept it.
Also has some privacy in an image.
Yes, not everyone likes their face recognized everywhere they go.
Ladies and gentlemen, dinner is now served in the salon.
Hello, ladies.
This way if you
Oh,
will.
you love it, trust me.
Townsend, should you have to stop assembling here when we're finished eating? They need to be present for the reading of Mr. Marston's will. Of course, Mr. Carter. I've let them know at once. Thank you, Townsend. Girls, be quick about cleaning those cups and glasses. Mr. Poole needs you to clean the dishes for the first course in about 5 minutes. And Edna, let's try to keep a modicum of decorum, shall we?
Yes, of course, sir.
Edna, let's try to keep a modicum of decorum, shall we? Like, seriously, what does that even mean? No, seriously, Sarah, what does that even mean? I have no clue.
I think he was referring to your outrageous flirting with Mr. Ascot.
Seriously? That's what he's talking about? I swear, I don't understand half the words that come out of that man's mouth. Takes himself far too seriously, if you ask me. Putting on all those hoity-toity airs and graces, he forgets he's a servant like the rest of us.
That may be, but he is still in charge, and you were flirting with Mr. Ascot.
Robert. Don't you remember he told us to call him Robert?
Yes, I remember. I'm just not comfortable calling him by his first name.
Well, I'd like to call him something else.
What?
Husband.
Oh, good grief!
Girls!
They're almost finished with the last course. Get those blooming doors shut! They'll all be complaining about the sound the second they get in here. Lucy, stop lollygagging and get in here.
Alright, keep it out. You got the air of the smell of some overprivileged hillman.
You watch your mouth. One of them might hear you.
Why should I care? I don't work for any of them.
Well, unless it escapes your notice, you're sort of in the market for a new job right now.
We all are. Not me. I'm in the market for a new husband. Mrs. Robert Ascot has a nice ring to it, don't you think?
Good grief, girl. Try and have a little bit of class, would you?
Catch your feet off the furniture. You're a maid, the hired help. A man like that is not going to marry a girl below the station.
Someone's a bit jealous, don't you think?
Lucy, come over and stand with me. Is the weather making your leg a bit sore?
Yes, it always gets worse when the weather's like this. The doctor said there's nothing to be done about it. Gave Dad some liniment to rub on it.
It's a nice room, isn't it?
Yes, it's lovely. You're so lucky you get to work in here all the time. I snuck in here once when I was little, but Miss Peel caught me. She told Dad I wasn't allowed to go roaming around the house, and I got an awful spanking for it.
It's terrible. Trust me, this room isn't so grand when you have to dust it all the time. Why do you think Mr. Carter wanted us to be present for the reading of Mr. Marston's will?
Heaven only knows, because I sure don't.
I've been wondering that myself. It's not like I don't have plenty of things to be doing around here. This house has to be closed up until it's ready to be sold.
Well, unless Mr. Marston left it to one of his relatives, maybe they'll want to keep us on.
Probably wanted us in here to make sure none of us steal any of the family silver.
Sydney Potter, don't you dare
Oh,
insinuate.
Marvin, it was a joke. You remember those? I'm sure they had them when you were young.
Maybe not.
Lucy, please go clear the remainder of the table and then return to us. Look alive, people. The family is finished and are returning presently. So arrange yourselves here.
He's always so pompous. Why can't he just say get off your bums and get over here?
Thank you all for braving the weather this evening. We all know why we're here tonight.
Well, yes, we do know, and the sooner we get on with it, the better.
Dad, don't be so crass.
Old Wilbur is right for once. So, how much did the old way leave us?
Formalities first, I'm afraid. My condolences to you all on the passing of Mr. Marston. I've been coming here with my father for many years.
That's lovely. Could I first inquire as to why the servants are here? Surely they're not getting anything.
Mr. Marston was very clear on who should be present for the reading of his will.
He certainly saw a lot more of them than he did any of us the last 20 years or so. How wouldn't they be getting anything?
It's just a little odd.
Well, that was our dear cousin for you, especially in the last couple of years, poor dear.
All right, we're all sitting comfortably. What are we waiting for?
My father, Joseph, was Mr. Marston's lawyer for many years, his friend for even longer. He was due to oversee the reading of his will this evening, but unfortunately he's taken ill.
I'm sure you're more than capable, Mr. Carter.
Does it really matter who reads it?
Well, I don't expect so, but if you let him get on with it, maybe we'll find out. He's so patient in the Arthur.
Well, I
Let's all
don't...
sit still and be quiet for a while, shall we?
I, Edward Charles Marston, being of sound mind and body and all the rest of that legal rubbish, do hereby declare this document to be my last will and testament. If Joseph is doing his job properly, this is being read to my remaining family and faithful staff within 5 days of my sad demise. So let me guess who's shown up to this little shindig. Beatrice and Gladys, my batty, globe-trotting cousins. Considering how mad you both are, you're probably the most decent people in the entire family. Thank you for always sending me the latest copy of your travel books. Know that I truly adored you both. As for the rest of you, you're probably circling like vultures. Robert and Davina Ascot, the self-centered offspring of my dear baby sister Tabitha. I'm sure she's turning in her grave with the way you two turned out. Cassandra Monroe, the dried-up and bitter ex-actress sister of my beloved wife Elizabeth. The only decent thing that you and your boorish husband ever produced was that sweet child of yours, Celeste. How she turned out so well, I'll never know. And Arthur Brooks, some distant relative that my lawyers dug up. Never had the pleasure, and now I never will.
Charming fellow, wasn't he?
And when we popcorn, let's just get on with it. We'll never find out how much we're getting.
I expect you're wondering how much money you'll be getting now that I've done the decent thing and died.
Well, he's certainly got the measure of you two, hasn't he?
I'm sure you've all heard the stories of my vast fortune, but I don't expect any of you to know how much is left. To be honest, neither do I. I haven't really touched any of it since my beautiful Elizabeth died. But before I let Joseph tell you exactly how much my investments and holdings are currently worth, he has a check for each of my staff. Sarah has only been here for the last 6 months. Although I've never seen her, £500 a month for staying in a place like this seems a fair price. Townsend, of course, has been with me a lot longer and has had to put up with a great many things. No amount of money can truly express my thanks to him, but a check for £100,000 should go a fair way towards it.
100,000? You must be one amazing butler.
Sarah, I calculate you've been here a little over 6 months, so that's £3,500 for you. As of close of business on Friday, Mr. Marston's total estate was valued at just slightly in excess of £19 million.
That's over 3 million each. When do I collect my check?
Be quiet, Robert. Let the man finish, for goodness sake.
I thought that might surprise you. It's a lot of money, isn't it? Some might say too much.
Not me. I always like with Edward.
Now, it's not every day that someone offers you a vast sum of money for doing nothing at all, and I'm not going to either. There's a condition, a task, if you will.
Isn't there always any old devil, just like our dear cousin, to turn it into a trial?
You must all spend the night in this house, and those of you that make it through the night and are still here at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning will split the estate between you.
You mean to say that all we need to do to get the money is stay here overnight?
I think that's what he's saying, yes.
However, if none of you make it through to the morning, the money will go to various charities and good causes as Joseph sees fit.
He can't be serious. Tell me he's not serious.
Oh, and by the way, I am being serious about that. You might even say I'm deadly serious. There is, of course, a chicken clause. Any of you who don't fancy taking your chances overnight at the mysterious Marston Manor can leave now with a check for £100,000. Not a bad offer if you ask me. Of course, you will forfeit any and all claims to the rest of the estate.
Excuse me, Mr. Carter. Is this legal? I mean, is this nonsense even acceptable as a will?
Oh yes, quite legal. You could contest the will in court if you'd like, but that could take months.
Excuse me, Mr. Carter. If you're finished with the staff, I'd like to dismiss them.
Go ahead, Townsend.
Come on, Auntie Cassie. It might be fun to stay here all night with the family reunion, chatting about old times. What could be nicer?
A hammer to the head. Firstly, young man, I am not your aunt. Thank goodness. Secondly, you will call me Cassandra, not one of your silly pet names. And lastly, I can think of 100 things I would rather be doing than being cooped up in this house with you.
Excuse me, I think I'm missing something here. Why would staying in this house overnight be so, well, difficult?
You mean you've never heard the stories about Uncle Edward's wife? I thought everyone knew the stories about Aunt Elizabeth.
Well, no, I hadn't even heard about what Marston told a few days ago.
If I may, sir. Hello, Marston residents. Certainly. Right away. It's for you, Mr. Carter.
Hello, Philip Carter speaking. Hello, doctor. Yes, he was feeling very poorly when I left him. I see. All right. Thank you. Yes, I'll be there right away. It seems my father has taken a turn for the worse, and they've taken him to the hospital.
Oh no, that's terrible. Of course you must go.
I'm supposed to check back up on you all in the morning.
Don't worry, sir. I will still be here in the morning.
That's good of you, Townsend. I'll try to be back by 9 at the latest. I'm so sorry to run out on you all.
Don't worry, dear. You've done your job. We'll go take care of your father. We'll see you in the morning.
Yes, go on, old man, and get those checks ready while you're at it.
Robert, it really is no surprise why people want to smack you.
3 million!
It's not yours yet, Robert. There's still a little matter of spending the night here.
I still don't understand what are these stories about Edward's life.
The story goes that she haunts this house and has done so since she jumped to her death nearly 20 years ago.
She didn't jump, she was pushed. That's why she remains here, and she'll stay here until the truth about her death is uncovered.
You mean she was murdered?
Well, no one knows exactly what happened, but she died falling from their bedroom window.
Go on, sis, tell them you know the stories better than anyone.
Excuse me, sir, I really should be getting back to the kitchen. Does anybody need it?
Oh, yes, and tea would be lovely. Thank you, dear.
And some biscuits, if you would.
Gladys, you just ate. Surely you're not hungry already.
I'm not. But you can't have tea without biscuits. It's simply not proper.
Since when have you cared what is and isn't proper?
Perhaps I'm beginning to mellow out as I'm becoming a mature lady.
Oh, that chance! Anna, do you hear this tush? Do you think our Gladys is starting to mellow?
I certainly hope not. Probably life quite dull. Go on, sis, back to it. You know the stories better than anyone.
Yes, please, carry on with your story. I don't think Peter provides whoever told me about this. Here come the skeletons. As Robert said, no one really knows what happened that night. But stories have filtered down over the years. It was quite a scandal at the time.
Mr. Carter has asked me to pass on his apologies and hopes to see you all again in the morning.
Tamsin, you were there when Mrs. Marston died, weren't you? Maybe you can fill in some of the blanks.
Oh, I shouldn't think so, Miss Ascot. It was a very long time ago.
Probably something you forget in a hurry. Come on, Townsend, spill the beans.
Maybe so, sir, but it's all the same.
Don't be such a spoilsport, Townsend.
Don't use the word spoilsport, Wilbur. It makes it sound immature.
If he'd rather not talk about it, we ought to not press him about it.
Fine, let me just ask one thing, Tamsin. Who was the first one to the body? That part I'm not clear on. Was it you, Tamsin?
No, madam. It was Sidney Thompson, the groundskeeper.
Would you go fetch him, please?
Miss, I really...
Tamsin, I insist. I won't take no for an answer.
You heard my sister. Off you go, old chap.
Well, that was a little...
Persuasive, yes. I tend to get my way off.
Well, while we're waiting, you may as well carry on with the story.
All right. Well, the story goes that Aunt Elizabeth had retired early that evening, complaining of a severe headache. She was awoken some hours later by a thunderstorm, much like the one tonight, to find that Uncle Edward hadn't joined her as was usual. Afraid that something might have happened to her husband, she picked up the candlestick from her dressing table and cautiously made her way downstairs.
Oh, please, make it sound like some cheap detective novel.
I'm only trying to create some atmosphere. Now, where was I? Ah, yes. She silently crept down the stairs and paused in the hall, straining to hear the tiniest sound. She heard it again, hushed voices coming from the library. She tiptoed to the door and flung it open to find her husband in the arms of the maid. As you can imagine, Aunt Elizabeth was in shock. She ran back upstairs with Uncle Edward in hot pursuit. She reached their bedroom first and slammed the door in his face.
Davina, you can't possibly know this. The only two who would know for sure are Edward and Elizabeth, and they're both dead.
She has her sources. Besides, it's a great story. Why spoil it with the truth?
Poppy is right. No one really knows what happened after Uncle Edward broke down the door, but the story goes that he found her outside the window on the balcony.
On the balcony? Why on earth would she do that? There was a thunderstorm going on.
Precisely. Why would she? She was pushed, I tell you.
Now, look who's being creative with the truth.
That's quite an accusation, Cassandra. It's what I believe.
Please, carry on with this.
Uncle Edward followed her out onto the balcony. The storm was in full force. Lightning crashed overhead. The rain pelted down, drenching them in seconds. He was calling her name, desperately pleading with her to come back inside the house. He said he could explain everything. Tears streamed down her face, washed away by the rain. She was about to relent and return to the safety of the house when her foot slipped on the wet tile. She fell back against the stone rail, but it wasn't high enough to save her, and she fell over into the inky blackness. Oh my goodness! Uncle Edward made a desperate lunge for her, and she held out her hand, her eyes desperately pleading with him to save her. He caught her hand just barely, but the rain made everything slip. He fought to hold on to her as her fingers slowly slipped through his. It was no use. Gravity claimed her, and she plunged to her death.
Well, you certainly have a way of weaving stories.
Indeed. We should introduce you to our editor.
So is that how it happened, Townsend?
Oh, I couldn't say so, sir. Miss Ascot's description of the events leading up to Mrs. Marston locking herself in the room were factual, if a little colorful. It's impossible to comment on the rest of the narrative.
Right. What about you, Cedric, is it?
Sydney! Sir.
Right. Well, step forward, man. We have questions.
So, you were the first one to get to Mrs. Marston after she fell. Was she still conscious when you got to her?
What's a preposterous question? The fall killed her instantly. The police report said so.
Yes, I read that too, but I've always wondered. In my research, I found that someone can actually survive a fall from that height. Sydney, was she still conscious when you got to her or not? Tell me the truth, Sydney. Look at me. Tell me the truth.
Yes.
What?
Mr. Marston's dead. There's no need to cover the truth anymore. Yes, Mrs. Marston was alive when I got to her.
Go on, Sydney. Tell us what happened.
It was a miserable night. I was out at the King's Arms. It's the nearest pub on the way into town. This came back to the ground. This cottage when the lightning flashed. It lit up the whole sky bright as day.